Inquirer.com. Absolutely love his work. Jeff McLane joins us. Jeff, good morning. How you doing?
Morning, guys. How are you?
Do you appreciate the honesty from your job standpoint that Vic Fangio provides during his press conferences?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it's night and day between what we are typically used to getting around here. And probably, we had some other guys. I think Billy Davis tried his best to be honest, the former defensive coordinator. Jim Johnson, I caught the tail end of Jim, and he certainly kind of said what he felt like needed to say. We're not going to get 100% transparency, and I expect that, right? You have to protect the team to some extent, but I don't understand sometimes the way coaches and players approach, or at least players kind of are following the team's leads. But, there's nothing wrong with, pointing out a player needs to improve upon this or that, or that, this player maybe is lacking in this or that, or whatever, a scheme flaw, whatever it is. It doesn't hurt the team to be honest about stuff in that regard. Certainly there are things that you want to protect. There's players you want to protect, and certainly as a coach, you don't want to lose your players. But at the same time, I think they need to know sometimes that, whether it's publicly or privately, that the coach knows exactly what is going on.
All we hear about is crisp offense, efficient offense. How eye-opening is it to you, who has seen all the practices of seasons past, in comparison?
The offense right now?
Yes.
It looks good. I wouldn't say it's explosive right now. I think a lot of that is a byproduct of Vic Fangio's scheme, right? There's a lot of too high safety shell, and that's kind of, it's designed to limit those types of plays. But and a lot of it you have to take with a grain of salt when maybe Jalen had been touched up or it looked like he could have been sacked, and he throws the ball and it's completed, and they run out of play. And look, I'm watching this stuff kind of on field level. It's not like I'm rewatching it on film or whatever. But it looks better than, especially with the first team offense and Jalen Hurts, than it did in the spring. I can say that, and I think that there's been gradual improvement. There have been a couple days where maybe the offense wasn't as crisp as it was early on, and then recently of late, it's pretty sharp. But again, you guys know me. I don't want to get too high or too low about the team at this point. You have to see a lot more before you start making any really kind of proclamations about what they may be this year.
By all reports, Johnny Wilson's having a hell of a training camp. Is he leading the charge for wide receiver 3 right now?
Again, you have to take it in the context. Maybe better than people are anticipating for a 6th round wide receiver. And the fact that he is kind of getting reps with the first team. Now, they shuffle players all throughout various units, but clearly this is someone that they value more than some of the other guys, the lower guys, the Aiyuk Smiths and Joseph Nadas of the team, even John Ross, who was a tryout and came in the spring. Obviously, we know about him, former first-round pick. Paris Campbell's been hurt, and that's allowed Johnny to get maybe a few more reps with the first team. But especially in the red zone, I think that is something that he thrived at in college, right? This is a 6'6" receiver who can really, he's strong and big. He can outmuscle guys to the ball and go up and get high point the ball over smaller defensive backs. And we've seen that in one-on-one drills. And just yesterday, there was a rollout, naked rollout, and Jalen had a couple of options, Devontae deep and Johnny short. And Devontae was, I think he was covered. And maybe Johnny was covered a little bit by Achille Ringo, but the ball was thrown slightly behind him, but that might have been the best place to throw it. And Jalen trusted him, and he made the catch. So, yeah, certainly I think Johnny Wilson is a guy that maybe can contribute. They also like his blocking. I think with the third receiver, it's how many targets is a third receiver really going to get with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, and et cetera. Yeah, so, maybe too much is being made of it. And I still feel like Howie Roseman has maybe a trade up his sleeve or bringing someone else in for that spot. But right now, they clearly like Johnny.
If Brandon Aiyuk was traded from the San Francisco 49ers, how much do you think that affects bringing them back to the pack of maybe where 49ers, Lions, Eagles, or another team that you believe is right there at the top of the NFC?
It's just one player, and I think receivers to some extent are overvalued. If you look at Super Bowl winners and teams that have continually been, thriving, look, they have receivers there. They have a lot of weapons. Christian McCaffrey is probably the most important person on that offense. So I don't think it, and Kyle Shanahan is a genius schematically and play calling. So I don't think it really makes much of a movement. Makes much of a tremor in the NFC East. If you're really asking me the truth.
Speaking of Jeff McLane of the Comcast Business Hotline, Jeff, how's the right guard battle going? I know Tyler Steen's missed a lot of time. Is Mekhi Becton run with this opportunity, or do you think there's still a competition?
When Steen's healthy, 100% healthy, he'll be back in there. They want him to win the job. He's a third-round draft pick, right? And Becton, it was signed to a one-year deal, right? I mean, they want him to be kind of a reserve, kind of swing tackle, and they're given an opportunity at guard, and you can see why it's appealing to them. This is a big guy. He's immense. He's powerful. He can move bodies inside. There's a reason why he's never played there before, though. He's kind of top-heavy. He's just built like he's a long guy. He's like 6'8", 300-something pounds. I mean, you get sometimes those big guys, tall, long guys at guard, but typically not. But he's still big. And, yesterday, for instance, he got a false start, and then it kind of looked like he missed assignment. So he's still trying to pick up things. But I still feel like Tyler Steen, I'm not saying that he definitely has the job, but they're going to give him every opportunity to win that job. And he should be back here in the next few days.
I was in Parks Casino the other night, and I took Birds to win the division, Birds to win the NFC, Birds to win the Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl may be a little pie in the sky, but do you think I'm being a little too, also over 11.5 wins? Do you think I'm being a little too confident, a little too chesty?
So it's 11.5 wins.
Yeah, over 11.5. Yeah. Oh, wow. No, the win total's 10.5. But I already I bet over 10.5, and then I slid it up and bet over 11.5 also.
I think I would take over 10.5. I think I have 11, and maybe even 12, because the schedule is just not as devastating as it was last year. Now, look, we have to see how other teams. We know the NFL changes year to year, sometimes even week to week. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, I think certainly the Cowboys. We all know they'll. They have the talent to win the division. You look at the Giants and Washington; those are teams that are not quite there. So the Eagles are going to win games in the division, and it should be down to those two teams. So I think the NFC East is a pretty good bet. The NFC, right? I mean, look, the NFC is not as strong as the AFC. We know that, but San Francisco should be there again. The Lions. Maybe it's possible to take a step back, but they still have a lot of talent. So, there's other teams, Rams, maybe they rebound, et cetera. So, there's a lot to play out here. But I think I like your first bet.
There you go.
All right, last thing before we let you go, Jeff. We're going to be talking a lot about the linebackers coming up next. John asked you the question earlier: how much does Kellen Moore's offense look differently this year compared to offenses in the past under Nick Sirianni? Have the linebackers looked any different? Mainly my question is, any better in camp so far this year compared to what you saw last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard you talked to a lot of coaches. Sometimes it's really hard to zero in on the linebackers or see what they're doing in camp. Devin White, yeah, legit. This is the guy that's played here for years. Played at a high level for years. I know, obviously, he had the regression last year, but he's an upgrade over what they had last year. I mean, Zach Cunningham really, honestly, wasn't that bad last year. He was their best linebacker, but you had the issues. N'Kobe got hurt, and then Nicholas Morrow was not the answer, and then now you have Zach Bond, who looks good in camp, and this is a guy that really kind of has played more. He's played inside, but he's also played edge, so. They like him at inside linebacker. It seems like those are the top two guys, but don't rule out N'Kobe. I mean, they drafted this guy in the 3rd round. I know that he's had some rough practices. The open practice was really tough for him. especially in coverage, and that's kind of always, I thought, been the issue for him. He just doesn't move well sometimes, laterally, and that can cause problems for him. But like when he's moving downhill, that guy can bring thunder. I mean, like he knows how to defend the run. He's done pretty well here whenever they've asked him to blitz. So I think it's probably going to end up being some sort of rotation with those three guys, and it should improve the defense. But the biggest thing is really, honestly, Vic Fangio calling the plays. This is his scheme, right? I think he will make those guys better, just him himself.
Jeff, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. Sorry for the last-minute text. I'll be bugging you again next week.